Thank you so much again for joining us and congratulations. We are delighted to welcome you this morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you're at. So I would like to start by introducing myself and my co-presenter. So my name is Annie Campbell. I'm Associate Director of New Student Experience here at Campus Life and Engagement at McGill. And I'm joined by Momoko. Momoko, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name's Momoko. I'm the Student Life Program Assistant at Campus Life and Engagement. I'm a third-year student at McGill going into my last year. I study psychology and East Asian studies. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Momoko. So it's great. We'll have a current student's perspective on this presentation today. So that'll be really helpful for a lot of your questions. And I'm also joined by my colleague, Carolyn. Carolyn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's nice to see everyone joining. I'm Carolyn. I'm a student life advisor in Campus Life and Engagement, and these are my two colleagues.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to dive right in from here. So let's see, for today's presentation, just to let you know what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish here, and what we're going to help you with, we're going to give you really an overview of McGill's structure and walk you through the course registration process. So we want to help you have a strong start and just give you confidence that you're understanding what you're reading when you're reading about course registration. And don't worry about making mistakes. Nothing you do now when your registration opens is unfixable because you have until September to finalize your schedule. We're going to give you all that information. But I do want to mention that everything we say in this presentation today is very general. In this presentation, we're joined by students not only from many places in the world, but from all the different faculties and schools here at McGill. So a lot of the information about course registration is really faculty and school specific, program specific. So any questions you have that are really specific to your program, just know that we're not going to cover that material today. This is really the overview, general McGill procedures, policies, and especially getting you familiar with the platforms you're going to need to be able to use to build your schedule and do your course registration. So just a little disclaimer about what we're going to be talking about today, but this is really important information that'll get you, that you really need to get into those classes. So we're going to help you get started for your course registration process. So just also to let you know a little bit how we're going to function today. So please do, you can ask questions in the chat as we go, but please do focus on the presentation first of all, because you may have questions at the beginning that we're actually going to answer in the presentation. So you can, if there are questions that come up about what we're speaking about, don't hesitate to pop them in the chat. We'll be answering some questions as we go in the chat, but do save some of your questions for later in the presentation so that you're sure that you get all of the content. Your mics are all muted because we are a lot of people in this presentation right now. We want to be sure that we have nice, clear audio quality, and we are recording the presentation, and we'll be sharing the slides with you. So that's a common question just out the gate. We want to let you know, yes, this presentation is recorded. You'll be able to access the recording and the slides after we finish today. And before we go further, I'd also like to start with a land acknowledgement. So the reason that we do land acknowledgements is to strengthen and cultivate relationships with local Indigenous communities. We want to educate the McGill community about Indigenous histories, cultures, and identities. We want to create a welcoming space for Indigenous students, staff, and faculty. All of Canada is Indigenous land, so we must always remind ourselves of the historical injustice that makes our gathering at McGill University and elsewhere in Canada possible. It's one of the first steps toward reconciliation. We invite you to visit McGill's Indigenous Initiatives website and also nativeland.ca, which you'll see linked at the bottom of this slide, for more information. We would like to acknowledge that McGill University is located on unceded land, which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous peoples, including the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations. McGill honors, recognizes, and respects these nations as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we meet today. While this land acknowledgement recognizes our shared space at McGill University, we recognize that members of our community come from all around the world. It's valuable and important for each of us to take a moment to learn about the land on which we reside. So do check out nativeland.ca, and you can find out lots more information about Indigenous histories and populations and cultures here and around the world. Now, a little bit more information about who we are. So myself, Momoko, and Carolyn, we're all from Campus Life and Engagement. So what is Campus Life and Engagement exactly? Essentially, we're a team here at McGill who's really dedicated to help you build a sense of belonging and connection here at McGill and in the Montreal communities. We do this first of all by helping you prepare for arrival at McGill and connecting you to the resources that you need along the way. So we'll be in your inbox most Mondays over the summer with emails that just guide you through your deadlines and important preparations. And we'll be offering you information and interactive sessions like the one today to hopefully to help answer all your questions. We have a great team that can also be reached for individual appointments to help navigate supports and resources in your first year and beyond. We also have a team of Ask McGill student navigators. So these are students who've been trained to answer all kinds of questions about life at McGill and who you'll be able to contact by phone, email, and you'll see them in person with their signature Ask McGill flag backpacks on campus when you come to orientation this August. We also help you explore peer support and mentorship programs, such as our new Student Buddy program, which is now live for applications. In this program, we'll pair you with an upper year student mentor before you even get here to campus, and they can help guide you from a student perspective. So this is a great relationship that you can already start before you even get to campus. You'll already know somebody here. We really, really encourage you to register for that program. We'll also be putting lots of activities on for you. The biggest and most exciting of which that's coming up soon is orientation this August 25th and 26th. So we are very excited to see you on campus this fall. But before we get to campus this fall, we'll have to register for courses. So we'll explain a little bit what we are going to so what we'll cover today, but then also what you're going to see in the second part of this presentation, which is offered by your faculty. This week, we're offering multiple sessions on course registration, the general information, how to use Minerva, all the basics that you need to proceed. And then from May 26th to June 17th, so starting next week and going through mid-June, faculties and schools will be holding their own sessions that are more program specific. So we really encourage you to join those presentations. So you can see here on this slide, you've got the registration form to register for your faculty sessions. So I know we had a lot of people register for our session today, but less so far have registered for their faculty session. So don't forget, this is the very important second part and complement to this information that gives you your program specific information. So a lot of your questions that we can't answer here today will be answered there. For more information about faculty specifics, you'll also be able to take a look at your faculty's website. So we'll give you more information, but every faculty has a website and often a guide for new students that can help guide you through the course registration process as well. Today in this presentation, so this is what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about your registration status and date so you can know when you're going to need to register, the basics of Minerva, using the course catalog, understanding your courses, building a class schedule, and actually registering for your courses with Minerva. So we'll go over all of these parts. First of all, registration status and date. So this is a big question that we get asked a lot, and it's very important to be able to determine your registration date. So we're going to try to clarify for this for all of you. Most of you who are coming into McGill as degree students who are entering for the university for the first time will be entering as either a U0 or a U1 student. So you'll see terms U0, U1, U2, and U3 to describe your curriculum year at McGill. So these are classifications to help you kind of know where you're at in your program. You can consider this kind of like your starting line for your program. U0 versus U1 classifications are determined based on the number of advanced standing credits that you are granted when you start at McGill and are used to determine your year for registration purposes on Minerva. Now, your status will give you an idea of the length of time that it will take to complete your degree, but it's not a one-to-one, right? It depends on your personal situation. So we'll give you more information about that. A lot of people think that maybe if you start as U1, that just means you graduate in 3 years. And if you start U0, you'll graduate in 4 years. This is true for many students, but it's an oversimplification. So it's really down to the credits that will make this decision, essentially. The time it takes you to graduate, is very personalized on a case-by-case basis and is specific to your individual circumstances. So we'll go over these different categories a little bit more in detail. If you're entering McGill with no advanced standing credit, Now, this would be the case if you were a high school student who did not complete any AP or IB or A levels. Also, maybe if you're entering from homeschool, you will be entering most likely as a U0 student. If you've been admitted without advanced standing, you'll complete a 120 credit degree, which includes a 30 credit freshman or foundation program in your first year. Your degree program is designed to be completed in 4 years. Now, if you've completed some advanced standing credits, such as AP credits, maybe some IB, but less than 24 credits, that means you will still be a U0 student. So you will also be required to complete a 120 credit degree, including a 30 credit freshman or foundation program in your first year. And your degree program is designed to be completed in 4 years also. However, because you're entering with some advanced standing credits that may exempt you from some of your freshman program courses, it may enable you to take a lighter course load, take more electives, begin some of your second year courses early, and or possibly graduate a little bit earlier, depending on your individual circumstances. Now, if you have completed 24 credits or more of advanced standing, so this will be the case if you have completed an IB diploma program, generally, if you have completed Cégep in Quebec, if you have completed a French baccalaureate. These are all examples that tend to start students in U1 directly. So if this is your case, you're a U1 student for registration purposes, you will be required to complete a 90-year degree, or 90 credit degree, which is designed to be completed in 3 years. However, being a U1 student does not mean you're automatically exempt from all of the freshman program courses. Exemptions are granted based on the specific coursework you completed before coming to McGill. Depending on your program at McGill, you may need to complete additional prerequisites that are part of the U0 freshman program. Therefore, many U1 students will actually need to complete a little more than 90 credits and may need 3.5 or 4 years to complete their degrees, depending. So something to keep in mind in these examples. So I've explained how there's a 90 credit degree plus a 30 credit freshman program, which adds up to 120 total credits. However, there are some faculties and programs that may have a slightly different number of required credits. For example, the Faculty of Engineering or the Faculty of Music. So this is a simplification that can give you a general idea. But again, for your specific credit needs, it's important that you consult your specific program and faculty guide and you attend your faculty or school's Part 2 presentation to get more information about your exact credit needs. So what does this mean really, advanced standing credits, right? We gave you some examples, but how can you get some more information about how this applies for you? So to understand if you qualify for advanced standing credits, on this first link on the accepted students website, you have a great visual table to get an idea. So I don't know if Momoko or Carolyn, I don't know if one of you could put in the chat these links that are on the slide. I think we have them available here to put in the chat. So that first website is a great one. Thank you so much. And then in the second one, so the second one, that's transfer credit for prospective students, this website goes into a lot more detail about different transfer credit scenarios. So you can really see like what kind of advanced standing you've completed and see how it can apply in your situation. So we really encourage you to look at these links, not right now because it's a lot to read and we're going to have a lot more to explain to you, but take these links, hang on to them, and then you're going to be able to look through them and learn a lot about your situation and how many credits you might be able to expect. Another really common question that students give us is, how do you apply these credits at McGill? So yes, I did this advanced standing coursework, but how does McGill get these credits? So here you have the steps to send your final marks to make sure that McGill receives your final results so that these credits can be processed and applied to your account. So here you have the instructions at this link. And the last big question that people ask us about advanced standing is when? When will that happen? When will I see my credits applied in Minerva on my account? So the answer is on a rolling basis over the summer. So as McGill is receiving results, this will be updated and it can take a little bit of time. So if you're expecting to have enough credits to be U1, but right now you're seeing in Minerva that you're U0, don't worry, that's totally normal. It can take time for all those credits to be applied. So we'll go into more detail about this, but you're going to register for essentially for the curriculum year that you think you will have. So once you've gotten a good idea about how many advanced standing credits you can expect, then you'll make your course registration choices based on that.
So we were
if,
getting a lot of questions about that. So
perfect.
AP, IB, French Baccalaureate, a lot of those puts you in the U1 category. So really
Yeah, absolutely.
register for the U1s.
Absolutely, yes. Were there any other questions that we should take now before we move further? Let's see.
I think a lot of them were asking like what counts towards credit. So we're going to show you shortly where you can look. So that will help you. And so that's great. Those questions can be put on hold for now.
Yeah, and all those questions about if something counts for U1, when you take a look at the link that we sent you in the chat, you will find the answer. So really all of the different case scenarios are well explained. All right, so now we'll talk a little bit about how you're going to register based on your status. So if you are a U0 student, you'll prepare freshman or foundation courses. Your faculty has guidelines you can follow. So at your faculty presentation, right, for the part 2 of course registration, they'll give you more information about this. If you are a U1, you will be able to declare your program. So we'd like to go over the difference between the different types of programs that you can declare, right? So first of all, you have a major. A major is your primary area of study, which is, your standard university program. Is what you get your degree in. An honors program is like a major, but it involves a higher degree of specialization in that field. So you'll take more credits and courses in that field of study. And there are additional requirements, such as minimum GPA requirements. And you'll have to apply. So you can just declare your major in Minerva. We'll show you how to do that shortly. But honors programs you have to apply to. It's really on an application basis. They are not required. You don't have to do an honors program, but it is an extra option that's available. So depending on what you'd like to study, if you're interested in that, we suggest that you look up specifically what an honors program looks like in your sort of desired program of study on your faculty's
We're getting a lot
website.
of questions about when you can apply for honors.
Yeah,
So
great question.
Probably, go ahead,
yeah,
Annie, please.
really, sorry, it's really faculty and program dependent. So essentially, for that information, you should really go to your faculty's website, kind of browse the programs you're interested in, and then you can have some idea. And then I think also in your faculty session, that'll be a question that can be covered as well. And then we have after that the minor. So a minor is an area of secondary concentration. So this is a brief specialization in a field of study. It's worth the smallest amount of credits of all of these types of programs. So typically between 18 and 24 credits. So do note that in some faculties and schools, you've already been admitted to a specific major. So for example, if you're in the Faculty of Engineering, you already applied for a specific program, so you don't have anything to declare because you've already chosen your program. This can also be the case in education and in music. In other faculties, such as arts, science, management, you'll typically declare your major in your U1 year, but timing does depend on your program. That being said, it's open for you to do in Minerva once you're U1, but your faculty can guide you as to their suggestions for that timeline. Now, some of you joining us today may be upper year students who are joining us as transfer students from another university or exchange students. So we'll just define what the other year sort of student statuses mean based on credits. So if you've been admitted with 47 credits or more of advanced standing, that will place you in U2. And if you've been admitted with 83 credits or more of advanced standing, you are a U3 student. And U3 students are in their graduating year, right? So just to give you an idea. Now, based on your student status, your registration status, U0, U1, etc., this will allow you to know your registration date. So here we have all the registration dates for new incoming students. If you're an exchange student, your date is June 6th, except in the Faculty of Law, but for all other faculties. If you're a CEGEP scholarship recipient, CEGEP is a specific kind of school in Quebec. So if you're a CEGEP student, you'll know if you're a CEGEP student. CEGEP scholarship recipients register June 9th. All CEGEP students register June 11th. So all scholarship students, U0, U1 curriculum year aside, all other scholarship students register June 13th. All U1 students who haven't already registered can register from June 16th. Then lastly, registration opens for non-scholarship U0 students. So June 17th for arts, arts and science, education, management, and music. And June 18th for U0 students in agriculture and environmental sciences, engineering, including architecture, nursing, physical and occupational therapy, and science. So you should find yourself in one of these categories, but you can get more information. You'll see the link at the bottom of the screen there about these dates. You have them also on the McGill website. So when your day comes for registration, Minerva opens for you at 9 a.m. Montreal time on the first day. And then it is open continuously, 24/7. This is also a common question. People ask us, oh, like I'll be on a flight exactly at 9 a.m. when my Minerva opens. Is registration going to close? No, it doesn't close. It remains open for you all the way to September. But do know that you need to register for at least one class by August 14th. So that's your deadline to register for at least one class to avoid a late fee. But that being said, do register as early as you can. The earlier you register, the more choice you'll have in your classes. So register as early as you can. But your registration date is only the beginning, and it's open continuously from there. During the first hour of your registration, it may be difficult to log in because everyone's logging in. That's okay. It's a normal part of the process. Don't panic. Just keep refreshing and you'll get in there eventually. So just do know that it may be require a few browser refreshes, but you'll be able to get in and register for your courses from 9 a.m. Now we'll go over a little bit about Minerva, the platform that you'll use to actually register for courses, but to do a lot of other things. Some of you may have already used Minerva for your housing application, for example. This is one way that you may have already used it, but we're going to walk you through how to connect. So first of all, there's two ways to log into Minerva. So you can log in using your McGill email. If you've already configured your McGill username and password, your email and your sort of McGill account, then you can click on the left-hand option on the screen, students, alumni, instructors, and staff, and log in from there. If you haven't yet set up your McGill username and your McGill email, that's okay. You can still log in to Minerva using the applicants and guests login. So you'll use the McGill ID number and PIN that you should have had on your offer letter. And then if you are wondering how you set up your McGill email, that's also a very common question that we get. If you've accepted your offer, you should have received an email from IT Services that walks you through all the steps you need to configure your account. Now, this email very, very often goes into your junk mail. So if you haven't seen this email from IT Services, you've likely received it, but it may be in your junk email, okay? So check that, but you should receive those instructions. But regardless, either way, you have two different ways to log into Minerva, regardless of whether you've set up your email or not. If you have trouble logging into Minerva or any other basic like Minerva questions, we have a Minerva helpline through our service point desk. So you have here at the top of this slide the phone number where you can reach the Minerva helpline if you're having any issues with Minerva. Now, once you're in, this is what you're going to see. McGill students register for courses through this online system, Minerva, right? You're going to get to your student menu after that. So from here, you're going to go to student menu and then registration menu. I don't know if you can see here where my mouse is circling. From registration menu, you'll then go to where you see this red rectangle. Step 1, check your registration eligibility and verify your curriculum. So after you have gone to registration eligibility and verify your curriculum, this is what you'll see. So at the top, you will see your registration start date based on your registration status, U0, U1, scholarship recipient, or no, all the categories we presented earlier. You have your registration start date and time, which the time will be 9 a.m. for all of you. You'll also see your curriculum year. So if you're U0, U1. So again, if you know that you're going to be getting lots of advanced standing credits, but they haven't been applied yet because McGill hasn't processed your final results, then you will show here as a U0 and your registration date will be the registration date of a U0 student. So there's nothing you can do to change that really. You just have to be patient and wait for those results to get processed. But even if you register on the U0 date, if you know that you're counting on being a U1 because you have so many advanced standing credits, then you can register for courses as if you're a U1, meaning the courses you choose, you can choose U1 courses, but you'll still have to respect the date that matches your curriculum year in Minerva. You can also see here if you have any holds, so any holds that will block you from registration. So we really recommend that well before your registration date, you go ahead and log into Minerva, follow these instructions, get into your account, see what your curriculum year is showing as, and be sure especially that you have no holds on your registration. If you do, that'll give you time to handle them before you're blocked from registration on your date, which you don't want, right? All right, so next, how to declare your major in Minerva. So if you're a U1 student and you really want to go ahead and declare your major, here's how you can do it. You can go into your student records menu and change your primary curriculum. From there, I'm sorry, I think we skipped a step. So this is where you'll go in to actually change your curriculum. So we'll have a little video walkthrough of Minerva shortly where you'll see in more detail how we walk you through those choices, but that's where you'll find your major and your minor. You can also look at your unofficial transcript in Minerva. So when you go to unofficial transcript, your screen should look something like this. At the top, you'll see your name and your student ID number. If your faculty assigns academic advisors to students, you can already see in that case your advisor's name. But don't be alarmed if you don't see an advisor because many faculties actually don't assign advisors initially. So for example, in the Faculty of Arts, you won't have an assigned advisor at this time. But don't worry, all students have access to advisors. So we'll explain in a little bit more detail later in the presentation how to access an advisor. But just so you know, for those of you who do have an assigned advisor, you'll be able to find their name here on your unofficial transcript. You'll again see your, yeah,
Annie,
go ahead.
I'm just going to jump in because a couple questions about if I expect to have the U1 credits, but I'm showing as U0, is my registration date the earlier one or the later one? So this is, do you want to answer it? Do you want me to go?
Sure. So yeah, if whatever your registration year is showing in Minerva, your date will be linked to that. So that just that's based on the results that McGill has received. So McGill just perhaps hasn't received and processed results if you're expecting to be at a different curriculum year, but your registration date will be based on your status as it appears in Minerva.
But you can register for U1 courses. So it doesn't block you from registering for U1 just because your status says U0.
I will say, sorry, just to quickly add on to that, for IB students, I was an IB student in high school, and it does take a while for McGill to like process your final grades. But I did get switched to a U1 student on Minerva like a week before registration. So you just have to be a bit patient and like hold on, but it'll be okay.
Great, thank you for that. And I see also a quick question in the chat. Are all CEGEP students U1? Yes. If you're a CEGEP student from Quebec, you can expect that you'll be U1, and probably you'll already see that status in Minerva. Registration holds, yeah. So registration holds, I'll just go back quickly for that. So registration holds are what you will see when you go to check your registration eligibility and verify your curriculum. So from the registration menu, this right here is where you're going to see your hold. So this student that you see on my screen now, they do not have any holds.
And so one more time. So if you expect to be in U1, even if you're showing U0, register yourself for U1 courses.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Perfect. All right, let's see. And I see another one, a French baccalaureate you'll get in July. Again, for French baccalaureate, you're probably already showing as U1 in Minerva. So yes, you should register as U1, but you check what you can see in your in Minerva. And what are holds? Holds is just a block on your registration. It can be due to a lot of different factors. Maybe you haven't done some important step that would open course registration for you. Maybe there's something you haven't paid or something like this. So it will tell you if you have a hold what the hold is. There's different types of holds, but just make sure that you don't have any so you don't have any surprises on registration day. So one more time, how to check if you have holds. Absolutely, that's an important one. So you log into Minerva, student menu, registration menu, check your registration eligibility and verify your curriculum, and that is where you will see your holds. Okay.
And also it's super normal if your transfer credits are not yet appearing because they evaluate them as they go and they need the grades to come in. So it takes some time. So some people are saying they don't see them yet. That's normal.
Yeah, and great question too. UG level is the longer way of saying U. So UG level 0 is U0. UG level 1 is U1. That's a great question.
Means undergraduate.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see. We'll move on a little bit. I see there's still a lot of questions popping, but we'll just we'll keep going. So I think we're going to answer some of these very shortly here. All right, let's see. So from here. All right, so now we're going to actually show some footage of a student actually navigating through Minerva. So I'm going to go ahead and play this little video here, and you'll be able to see all the clicking that happens from screen to screen. This student clicks login as a student, registration menu, sorry, student menu, registration menu, and step 1, check your registration eligibility and curriculum. So verify your curriculum. So I'll just go back a little because I was fast. We go registration menu, step 1. Then you're going to select the term. So this student is choosing fall 2025. And this is the screen, right, where you can see everything we talked about. So this student's registration date, they're a U0 or U3 student, sorry. So their registration date is a little earlier on May 28th, and they have no holds. So you can see that here. So there you have the registration date appearing at the top of the screen. And here you have the message about the holds. And there's the curriculum year, UG level 3. All right, now we're back in the registration menu, student records menu, change your primary curriculum. So this is what we will do if you're a U1 student and you want to declare your major, declare your minor. Here we just went into that option in Minerva. So this is what you're going to see. First of all, you see primary curriculum. This is where you're going to select the type of degree. So in this case, the student is in arts. So it's a Bachelor of Arts degree. So they choose that from the drop-down and click continue. And from there, you'll see that they can choose really the subject of study. So in this particular case, the student is studying psychology as a major and East Asian cultural studies as a minor. So you can see that you could select from the drop-down menu, and then you can choose continue. There we go. Now, one more thing, we go to the unofficial transcript from the student records menu. And you can see all the information that's visible here. So you can see all the prior education. You can see where the advisor's name would be. There we go. Wow, sorry, it keeps taking me to, okay, there we are. I'm sorry, it keeps cutting us off there. You will have access to this video as well, so you can really watch it and walk through with it when you're connecting to Minerva. So now we've given you a little bit of the basics of how to get in Minerva, find your student menu, registration menu, and what you can do there. But now there's still the question of how do you choose your courses, right? So how do you know which courses to register for? We're going to touch on this very...
Before you start with this topic, I'm
Yeah,
just going to say there's so many questions about honors and majors and if you can change and if you need to, when you need to declare, go to your faculty sessions. I'm going to pop the link in again. That's the best place to ask because these are all case by case and they depend on the requirements. So that's the best place to ask those questions, okay?
Absolutely. And also a quick question I see here. Let's see. There's no information in my unofficial transcript yet. Is that normal? Yes, that's normal. Don't worry. Information will populate there over the course of the summer. But yes, it's totally normal if you're not seeing anything there yet. And if you are seeing an error in Minerva of any kind, someone says their account is showing is canceled, call Service Point. They'll be able to help you. Service Point, it's the Minerva helpline. Anything with like Minerva blockages, Minerva holds, Minerva problems with access, the Minerva helpline with Service Point is your one-stop shop for all of those questions. All right, so now we're going to dive in a little bit to the course catalog. So what is the course catalog? This is the place where you can browse all the programs that are available at McGill under all the different faculties and schools to get a sense of course and credit requirements. You can also browse individual courses to get information about when they're offered, who teaches them, any prerequisites or co-requisites. So this is the link to the course catalog. This is where you will be able to go take a look at all these things. And I'm just going to go to the next slide where we see a little screenshot. This is what the course catalog looks like. So when you go into the course catalog, you'll be able to click through all of these things, but I'm actually going to go there live with you right now and show you what it looks like. All right, so here we go. You'll see on my screen, this is the course catalog. So when you go into the course catalog as an undergraduate student, you're going to choose undergraduate and professional from the menu. And here you can see all the different faculties and schools here at McGill. You can browse them, you can find yours, you can see what's on offer. I'll just take the example of the Faculty of Arts. So if you go into this faculty, you'll see information about the faculty, history of the faculty, all the different academic units, advising and contact information. From academic units, you can take a look, you can browse a program that might interest you. So for example, if you're interested in anthropology, you get a little bit of information about the department and the programs available. So for example, if I'm interested in an anthropology major concentration, I would click here. And I can go to courses, and this is where I'll get an idea of what are some of the courses I should be taking if this major is of interest to me. So this is a great place you can browse, you can get more information about some of these courses, but just know there's one very important detail. This course catalog is brand new, so it's very nice and very shiny, but there's one problem, which is that all of the courses right now are showing that they're not offered. That's not true. So a lot of these courses, most of these courses, many of these courses are offered, but availability is not yet updated in the course catalog. So don't count on the course catalog for availability, but do count on it just to get an idea of what will be your requirements, your sort of faculties, policies, all of those things, very important. So for the rest of what you'll need to know for course registration, we'll show you the other tools at your disposal. Let's see. So now we'll talk a little bit too about understanding your courses, right? Because this is important for choosing your courses, that you really understand what it is you're choosing. And we'll give you this credit breakdown of a degree. So we talked about earlier in the presentation, if you're a U0 student, so you can see kind of the starting line going from on your screen from left to right, a U0 student will start with a 120 credit program over 4 years. That gives about 30 credits per year will be your typical load over an academic year. If you're starting at U1, then you'll have 90 credits to complete over 3 years with about 30 credits per year. So that gives you an idea of what to expect in terms of course load, which breaks down by semester into 15 credits per semester. 15 credits per semester is what you would need to complete, to stay on track to complete your degree in either 3 or 4 years, depending on your status. But I'll give you a little bit more information about that as well. So just to give you an idea, what is 15 credits? That's 5 classes in most cases. Most classes are worth 3 credits. So you can expect that a course load of about 5 classes per semester is a normal full-time course load for a student at McGill. So this is what I just I got ahead of myself. So a normal course load is 15 credits, 5 classes per semester. But do note that there are some classes that are worth different amounts than 3 credits. So there are exceptions to this rule, but that's the most common credit load per class. Now, you can take as few as 12 credits and still maintain a full-time status as a student. So the definition at McGill of a full-time student is a minimum of 12 credits. If you carry fewer than 12 credits at any time, you are considered a part-time student in that semester. Now, that can be totally fine if you decide to become a part-time student at any point, but do keep in mind that that will have impacts on lots of things for you. So you need to be mindful of those before you make that decision. Your student loans, your scholarships, your study permit or CAQ, your employment eligibility on campus, and your access to services all depend on your student status. So if you were ever to consider changing to a part-time student, you would need to make sure that that's not impacting any of those areas of your life. So that would be something you would want to discuss with an advisor. And in some faculties, you actually need faculty approval to go to part-time, which is the case, for example, for the Faculty of Education. So do note that. Let's see. So here we go. So fewer than 12 credits can impact all of these things. So just be mindful of all of that before you make any changes to your student status. Now, a little bit more about just the structure of an academic year. The McGill academic year is made up of 3 terms or semesters: fall, which runs from, well, it's late August to December, winter, which runs from January to April, and then the summer term, which runs from May to August, during which some courses are available. Most programs do not require students to register in the summer term, and not all courses are offered in the summer. When registration opens for you, so in June when you will start registering, you will not only register for fall, you will register for both fall and winter. So both of those semesters of your first academic year, fall and winter, you'll register for in June. Registration for the summer semester opens in March for all students, and the schedule becomes available in January. Summer semester is very condensed. Most courses last about 1 month, and they run from May to July for the most part. So also we have some very important academic dates and deadlines for you here below. So the fall classes start on August 27th. And the add drop deadline is September 9th. Now, what does that mean? The add drop deadline is the time at which you can no longer just easily make changes to your schedule in Minerva, but you can continue to easily make changes in Minerva up until September 9th. So this gives you time to try out different courses and finalize your schedule. You are not officially committed to your courses until after the add drop deadline has passed. So from now until then, you have lots of time. If you need to make changes to your schedule, later on when you've tried the class, you have time to see if the course isn't a good fit for you. During those first 2 weeks of classes from August 27th to September 9th, lots of people will be switching in and out of courses. So if you aren't able to register for your top choices this summer, don't panic. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to. Many spots will be opening up, especially during the first 2 weeks of classes. You also have, for winter semester, the winter class start date on January 5th, and you also have an add drop deadline for your courses in winter semester. We also have the reading breaks here as well, so you'll know when you have a little break. Good to know. Now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Carolyn to talk a little bit about advising.
Okay, got a little bit lost in the chat and lost my place. I did want to mention that there have been a couple questions about offers. If you received and accepted an offer and you're receiving an offer in another faculty, then what happens? Annie, do you want to answer that while I find my spot in the notes? You're on mute.
Sorry, thank you. So if you received, many of you may have applied for more than one program at McGill. That's very typical. So if you've received an offer for one program, then you accepted it, but then you received an offer for a program you want more, you should not decline your offer. You should call Service Point to switch your acceptance to your other offer. So if you receive a second offer, you prefer to accept that one, call Service Point and they will help you switch your acceptance to your second offer. Okay.
So don't decline. And then questions about registering. We are registering in June for both fall and winter semesters. So we'll cover that in a minute, I think. Okay, so here I go. So types of advising. So there are faculty advisors. They're located in the student affairs office of each faculty, the administrative headquarters of your program. They're experts on policies and procedures, and they're fully aware of your degree requirements. So you're getting questions about degree requirements and minors, and we're going to cover what are electives, but the faculty advisors, they have all this information for you. And if you're having academic difficulties, you can meet with them, and you should meet with them at least once a year just to make sure that you're staying on track. There are also peer advisors that are trained students who volunteer, and they work in tandem with the faculty advisors. They offer drop-in hours, and they can give you general advice about your program. And peer advisors are only used by some faculties, but they are in arts, which are many arts students with us today. Then there's departmental and school advisors, and they are important when you're an area of study that becomes more specialized. You'll have a different department advisor for each of your majors and minors. They'll know all the requirements in order to complete your major or minor or your concentration and keeping you on time. And some of them might even be professors, and you should also meet with them at least once per year. And in addition to that, there's professors and lecturers who are great resources for informal academic advice. They can recommend courses based on your interests or recommend readings or research topics. And they can also provide you advice on grad schools. Faculty and department advisors are a great resource for to who you can ask further questions. And in some faculties, an advisor will be assigned to you, and you'll be able to see that in Minerva. But in other faculties, such as arts, this is not the case. So in either case, you have access to academic advisors, but not all the time assigned. Next slide, please. We're going to talk about course descriptions. So when you begin to look at the courses you want to select, this is how you're going to know what they are. So the first, they're in 3 parts, and the first 4 characters are all caps, and they refer to the department offering the course. The 3 numbers that follow are the subject codes, and they refer to the course itself, with the first of these indicating the level of the course. The lower the number, the more general and less difficult. So, and then there's the course name. So a U0 student registers mostly for 100 or 200 level courses, whereas U1 students register for mostly 200 or 300 level courses. And 500 level courses and above are usually intended for graduate students. So there is an exception for those of you entering the U1 level. There are some first year seminars, which are 100 level courses. And if it's possible, it's recommended that you take these. Then there's also some additional codes that have to do with multi-term courses, and because they can be taken over more than one semester, such as language courses. They're called multi-term courses. There's some of the symbols that you should be familiar with are D1/D2, which means 2 consecutive terms, N1 and N2, that are 2 non-consecutive terms, J1, J2, J3, which are 3 consecutive terms. So for example, if you're registered for FRSL, so French as a second language, 207 D1, which is elementary French, D1 is offered in the fall, and FRLS 207 D2, elementary French 01, would be offered in the winter semester. You must complete both D1 and D2 in consecutive terms in order to receive your credit. So always be sure to read the course description on Minerva carefully before making your selection, so you know which ones you need to take and when. And sometimes it requires department approval. Then there's this, when you're registering, you might see that there's an option for satisfactory, unsatisfactory option called SU. This is an alternate grading option that you can select per course. You'll only receive an SU as a result, which means there's no grade. This can be used for elective courses that don't count towards your major or minor requirements. So it's a great way to branch out and explore something in a new discipline without fear of it impacting your GPA. Some U0 students and most U1 students can register for these. I don't know if we can pop in the chat the link. So there are limits to how many SU courses you can take per term, and it's a maximum of 10 of your total degree credits. And you can find more information about that in the link. I could pop that in. Oops, pop that in right now. No, my colleague popped it in. Thank you. So on the next slide, you can see how to select SU grading option for a specific course in Minerva. So you just click on it in the grade mode selection. So you cannot change that after the course drop date. Is that right, Annie? See, you're unmuted. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
I got thumbs up. Thank you. So you get to choose that before your course drop date. So we had a lot of questions about it yesterday, so maybe I'm just going to clarify. So if you want to try something that you've never tried before, you're not sure you're going to be great at it, and it's an elective, then this is a good idea to use an SU. Alternately, if you're going to try to take a course that you know you're going to be awesome at, you might not want to choose SU because it will go to your GPA and will improve your GPA. So that's kind of a choice that you have to make. And I'm looking for a thumbs up from Momoko as a student there that made sense. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So we're going to move on. Yeah.
Oh,
go.
Sorry. I would just
No,
really say to make sure that it's not a class that is counting towards your major or minor, because you do need the grade for those classes. But yeah, for electives, it's a great option. I'm still struggling to like recover my GPA from like 2 elective classes I took in first year. And this like option would have been a great way to go, but I didn't know about it. So yeah, highly recommend.
That's great advice about not marking something that's core to your diploma as an SU. You will regret it. Okay, so let's move on to building a class schedule. Thank you. So to build a class schedule, understanding your courses is key, and ensuring that ensuring that you've got the right path. So this is what your faculty advisor sessions are for. We're just going to go through what the courses are called though here. So first you have required courses. Those are courses that must be completed to fulfill the requirement of your major or minor. Unless the student receives an exemption, example, an AP credit, students have no choice among the required courses. Then there's complementary courses, which are a set of alternate courses that can be taken to fulfill the requirements of your major or minor. Students choose a specific number of courses from that set. This allows you to pursue courses you're more interested in. So if you're doing, before I said that for your minors, you use electives, you can use electives and complementary classes. Elective courses are ones that do not count towards the fulfillment of the requirement of your major, minor, etc. And depending on your program, electives may be chosen from outside your program of study, although some faculties don't permit this. Make sure you consult your academic advisors for guidelines on choosing electives. So the electives are where you can choose to put the SUs. And then there's so a prerequisite course is a course that must be taken and passed before being allowed to take another course. So course A is a prerequisite to course B, and if a satisfactory pass is required in course A to be able to join course B. There's also co-requisites, and this is when 2 courses are taken at the same time, so concurrently. So course E is required to be taken at the same time as course B. Let's talk about the different types of classes. There are lectures, which are the most common type of classes and are led by professors. Then there's conferences that take place in smaller learning environments and are taught by teaching assistants or TAs, who are typically graduate or PhD students or postdoctoral research students. Conferences are typically made up of smaller sections of a greater lecture. Registration for conferences opens after the class starts and usually after the drop date deadline. Tutorial sessions are similar to conferences and supplement lectures by allowing for work that's more detailed. TAs also lead them. Conferences and tutorials may be required or optional depending on the professor or the course. Labs are like conferences and are most common in science and engineering courses. They also take place in smaller learning environments and allow for more practical applications of lecture materials. In conferences, tutorials, and labs, often times tests, quizzes, or other assignments can take place. Seminars are classes that are entirely discussion-based and occur in much smaller groups. They're typically standalone classes, not attached to a lecture, and they're more common in higher academic levels, up year undergrads and graduate students. However, there's the exception that we mentioned before, first year seminars, and we recommend that you take first year seminars if you can. Finally, there's fieldwork or internships. You can be registered, they can be registered as a course. They're usually aimed at upper year students, and certain requirements must be met depending on your faculty or school. Most faculties can help you find those opportunities, and they can take place in Canada or abroad, and in some cases, they're for credit. So just note that the class size usually is lectures are the largest, and as you move down, there are fewer students per class. So something to keep in mind as you choose your courses. So let's look at how to design your class schedule. So to design your schedule, you have two options. Option A, using the visual schedule builder, and option B, which is a manual search using the Minerva class schedule. We'll walk you through both of these options, but note that we recommend you consulting all three platforms to create your schedule. The course catalog to find courses in your program, the visual schedule builder to visualize your schedule, ensure that there are no conflicts, and Minerva, where you'll actually register for your courses, but also have access to information about section restrictions, pre and co-requisites, and we'll walk you through all of that. We're going to start with option A, using the visual schedule builder. This is the method that we recommend, because as the name would suggest, it allows you to visualize your entire schedule as you build it, and view all of the possible scheduling combinations. Note that the visual schedules builder does not actually register you in courses. It's only a tool to help you coordinate your schedule. Course registration is done exclusively through Minerva. The information on the visual schedule builder is refreshed in Minerva once each morning, so it's fairly accurate, but be sure to check class schedule on Minerva before registration for up to the minute changes. Once you click the visual schedule builder link, you'll be taken to a screen that looks like this one. So someone asked earlier if you use the visual schedule builder and the class is filled up, could you continue using the visual schedule builder to try other options? Yes, you can play around with the visual schedule builder as much as you want. So this is planning your program. We're just going to show you the video. Sorry, go ahead, Annie.
Sorry. Here we go.
To use McGill's visual schedule builder, the first thing you'll want to do is to select the term. In this case, I'm selecting summer 2023.
Sorry, I'm just going to raise the volume a little bit. That was very quiet.
To use McGill's visual schedule builder, the first thing you'll want to do is to select the term. In this case, I'm selecting summer 2023. Then you can input the course number or the course name and select the courses that you want to add to your semester. In this case, I'm adding Calculus 3. Press select, and you can see when that would show up in your week. Then you can add any other courses that you want to take. In this case, you can see that I've added Calculus 3, Mathematics for Management, Archaeology of Early Cities, and Intro to Financial Accounting. To select alternative versions of the schedule with the same classes, you can use the arrows on top under Generated Results. Under each course is a short description and any prerequisites. In the middle of the screen, you can see all the information pertaining to the course, such as the professor, the room, the seats that are available, and how many credits they are worth. Finally, at the bottom, you can see the CRNs, which can be copy-pasted directly into Minerva when you're ready to do your course registration. I hope this helped. Have a great semester.
So Momoko just put in the chat that the visual schedule builder is available right now, so you can start playing with it immediately, and the link is there. So thank you. That was what I was going to do when I got back because I saw so many questions. So we are going to look at registering for your courses with Minerva, which is option A. So once you have your CRN, your course registration numbers, it's time to use Minerva to register. So you're going to log into Minerva and go to the student menu, which is highlighted there in yellow, and then click. And then you're going to go to the register for the registration menu, and then quick add drop course section at the very bottom. And then you're going to select your term. So once you've selected your term, you're going to input your CRNs at the bottom of the worksheet. You'll need to make sure that you put each unique CRN into its own individual box, then hit submit changes, and you'll be registered for your courses. Please remember that there's a limit of numbers of total credits that you can register for. So for most faculties, it's a maximum of 17 credits. In other faculties, it may be 18, for example, in engineering and music. So if you try and input too many CRNs at once, it won't work. You'll have to register for each term, so separately. So you'll need to register for your fall course first, then go back and change the term to winter and repeat the process for your winter courses. Now, as mentioned earlier, there's two different methods of registering on Minerva. We just showed you how the option A, which is to use the Visual Schedule Builder to plan your schedule, and then
McGill
cut and
Essential.
paste the, then cut and paste the, that's a McGill Essentials. I recommend you follow that. And you input the CRNs into the quick add on the worksheet in Minerva. Now I want to show you option B, which is a manual search of each course, and so that you register for them individually using Minerva. Sorry, I've got sorry, Eddie, just distracted. Using the class schedule. So if you don't want to use the CRNs or for some reason they're not working, you can still register for your courses. You can even use the Visual Schedule Builder to visualize the schedule and then just use option B to register manually. So registering for courses using Minerva, much like before, you need to get to the registration menu, which you can access by clicking the main menu, the student menu, the registration menu. You then need to click step 2, search class schedule and add course section. Then you'll find the CRNs, the course types, the credit days, the times, locations, and the number of seats. The type of course is also indicated in this example. You see here, there are two choices for the lecture and several laboratory sections available. You must register for both. If you try to register just for one, you'll get an error message. Note that the conferences for the Faculty of Arts, for example, you'll need to wait until the beginning of the classes to register for the conferences. So click the box to register, and if a class is full, there'll be a C for closed, which you can see for the lab sections on the left side. There's a C for the full classes. So that's how you do it manually. So if you want to drop your courses, we'll see that on the next slide. You'll just go to the rolling menu and select web drop. You can only do this up until the add drop date, which is on September 9th. So once you've registered, you might want to view your schedule. So you can view your schedule as on the next slide. For your weekly classes in Minerva by clicking main menu, student menu, registration menu, and then step 5, view your weekly personal schedule. This page will inform you if you have any scheduling conflicts in the bottom left corner. The schedule has no conflicts, so there's no conflicts set up there. Please note that you have to use the next button at the top right corner to switch the weeks until you get to January. So just click through to see your winter schedule. So we're going to do a little walkthrough of a video on Minerva. So here you can see an example of a student navigating Minerva to do the steps we described above. first logging into Minerva and going to the student menu, then clicking on the registration menu, and then step 2, search class schedule and course sections. Here you can see that they're selecting the subject for the class. They're looking at economics. And after selecting the subject, they click on the course search to see all the classes that are available in that subject. Then they click on the view section and check the selected box, then click register. Now they're registered for the class. Now for the second quick add drop method, pardon me, they take the CRN, which in this case is 167. They go back to the registration menu and click on quick add or drop courses. They type in the CRN and then click submit changes, and they're registered. So courses and classes are synonyms. So now we're just going to look at the wait list. I think we can skip to the next slide, Annie, if you want.
I'm struggling.
Oh, don't worry.
We'll get there. We'll get there. There we go.
So we're just going to talk about wait lists because sometimes the courses are full, but you can add yourself to a wait list. Okay, not all classes have wait lists, so you have to be sure to check. You'll be able to see that if a class has a wait list in the course section page. In the example on the slide, we have pointed out that you can see the WL capacity, waitlist capacity, the total number of waitlist spots available, the number of people currently on the waitlist, and the number of waitlist spots remaining. If all of those numbers are 0, that means that there's no waitlist for the course. If there are numbers in those boxes, it indicates that there's a waitlist. The number of spots on the waitlist varies depending on the classes. In this example, there are 20 spots on the waitlist. Once you've identified that a course has a waitlist, you'll have to use the quick add page in order to add yourself to the waitlist. Remember, if a class is full, there will be a C instead of a checkbox, so you won't be able to register using the course search method. So you need to make a note of the CRN. Please note that there's limited spaces in the wait list. So once the wait list is full, you can add yourself to it. You can move to the next slide. So once you've made a note of the course registration number, you need to go to the registration menu, which you can access by clicking main menu, student menu, registration menu, then click on add drop courses. Then input the CRN at the bottom of the worksheet and hit submit changes, and you'll be added to the waitlist. Then to view the position of the waitlist, you go to step 4 of the registration menu. As people drop the course, you'll continue to move up the waitlist. When you're first in line, you'll receive an email in your McGill email telling you to register. You have 24 hours to register, otherwise you're kicked off the waitlist. You can place yourself on a maximum of 3 waitlists in addition of regular limits of course registered courses. Some students don't allow for 3. I think law is only 1 course on the waitlist. So that's it. We finished the walkthrough of all the steps of how to register in Minerva, but there's still a few questions that features in Minerva that we want to highlight because they're useful and they're frequently asked questions. Okay. So why can't I register? So sometimes the courses are full and may not have a wait list. Just cover that. You may be missing a co-requisite. You may need to register for 2 classes concurrently in order for it to work. Placement tests for French or English language courses can also be missing prerequisites. You may not have permission to register for a course if it's restricted by program, year, or primary curriculum. A common error message is reserved/closed. In any of these cases, if you feel you need to be in a course to meet your program requirements, just contact your advisors. Minerva will not prevent you from registering for courses that have time conflicts, nor will it ensure you're fulfilling your program requirements. So you need to make sure of that. You're checking that yourself. Make sure there's no conflicts and make sure that you're filling your program requirements. So there's also this thing called Minerva holds. Holds may prevent you from course registration. And in order to find a hold on your transcript, you go to the main menu, student menu, registration menu, and review your holds and warnings. If you have warnings, they're not holds, and they won't restrict you from any function in Minerva, but these warnings will normally become a hold if the matter remains unresolved. So now I hand it back to my colleague Annie to speak about placement tests.
Yes,
Do you want to pause for questions or?
Sure, we can do a couple of questions. So let's see. We just got a question about how is it that we register for both fall and winter at the same time? So when you're going in to register for courses, you remember there's a step where you choose your semester. So you'll choose fall, you'll register for fall, and then you'll just do the same process over again for winter. What do you do if you have a hold or a warning? That's a great question. You contact Service Point. So the Minerva helpline Service Point. You can see what kind of hold it is, and that can, the action you'll need to do will vary, but essentially Service Point can help guide you through any Minerva holds. Let's see. A co-requisite, what is a co-requisite? That's a course you have to take at the same time as another course. So a prerequisite has to come first. Prerequisite, you have to finish before you can register for the course. Co-requisite means there are two courses you have to register together. They go together. Where do we, okay, let me answer that one. Let's see.
So again,
okay.
the fall winter question. So you don't actually have to register for your winter courses right away, but you can and you should because the sessions will fill up. So they become available when your course registration date opens. They're both open at the same time. So do your fall, and as soon as you finish your fall, do your winter.
More questions about advisors as well. What do you do if you don't have an advisor? It's very normal for in a lot of faculty and programs, especially as you're coming in, you don't have an assigned advisor, but you always have access to advisors. So you can based on the advisor directory that we'd put in the chat, I can put it back in the chat. You could reach out to an advisor to ask questions, an advisor in your faculty or program. You can reach out to ask questions. You can book appointments with advisors even if they're not your assigned advisor. But then once you've declared a program, you'll generally have an advisor who works with you on for each program that you've declared. You also have pools of advisors and you have peer advisors, like all the things that Carolyn had presented. So lots of ways to access an advisor. So don't worry if you don't have an assigned advisor. All right, let's see. I'm going to quickly jump into the next slides here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm showing you the course catalog again. There we go. But we're going to talk a little bit about placement exams. So there's a few different types of placement exams. Some of these are required to register for certain types of courses, but no placement tests are required, period, right? There's no test you have to take, but depending on the types of courses you might want to take, there may be a placement test that is required for access to certain courses. For example, if you'd like to take French as a second language, even if you're a beginner, you have to take a placement test. There's different types of beginner, right? So you have to take a placement test if you'd like to take FRSL or French as a second language. We have here the link for how to do it. Essentially, you'll take a written placement test. Then you may be called for an oral placement test after an oral interview. And then once you have your score from your placement test, you will know your level and you'll be able to register for French as a second language. Same thing for English as a second language. So the McGill Writing Center offers a lot of really wonderful English classes to help you get, if English is not your first language, to really just help you feel more confident in your academic English. So if you'd like to register for one of these CESL or WCOM is the other type courses, you can do that, but you need to also do a placement test to access those courses. You have the link here, and the procedure there is also described for you. So again, if you'd like to take these second language courses in French or English, you have to take a placement test to access them. But if you're not taking those courses, you don't have to take a placement test. Now, there's no other language placement test. For example, if I'd like to study Spanish, Russian, Japanese, Arabic, any other language, you don't take a placement test to register for the course. You register for the level that you think you have. And on the first day of class, the professor will validate that you are in the right place. So there will be a sort of test on the first day of class, but you don't have a test to take before registration for any other language than English or French. And lastly, there also is a science placement test. This is fully optional. There is absolutely no obligation to take a science placement test. But in the case of students who have done higher level coursework in sciences, but were not able to get any transfer credits for those courses, it's possible to take a placement test. It doesn't give you any credits, but it can sort of place you out of certain introductory level courses. So if you'd like to access higher level science classes because you feel like you've already covered the basics, but you just don't have those transfer credits, this is an option that you can look into, but it's absolutely optional. So we have some just kind of overall tips for you to summarize. So definitely prepare more than one schedule. Don't just make one schedule of the 5 courses that you really want and leave it at that, because there's a good chance, especially for your first round of registration, that you won't get all the classes that you wanted. It very well happen. So just be prepared. Prepare a few schedules that work for you, and then that way you don't have to panic on registration day. Now, note also that class may not be offered every year. If there's a class that's required for your program or that you just really, really want to take, and it's not offered every year, when you see it being offered, that can be, one of a factor in deciding to take it that particular semester. So just note that not every class is offered every semester or every year. Like we mentioned earlier, the add drop period, so especially those first 2 weeks of classes until September 9th, is when many full courses will see openings. So don't lose hope if there's a class you really want to take and it's full now. If you keep an eye on that class, you get on the waiting list, you have a good chance of getting a spot during add drop. And remember that change is possible. Nothing you do now is permanent. If you register for a class and you realize you shouldn't have, or you change your mind or anything like that, you can make changes easily up until September 9th. And then there's even certain changes possible after, but up until September 9th, you can do them all yourself in Minerva. So it's easy to do until September 9th. And then last one, remember again, just make sure to have checked any holds or warnings on your account before your registration date, so you just don't have any moments of panic on your big registration day. And lastly, just a lot of great resources for you as you're kind of navigating course registration. So you have resources on using Minerva. So you've got a couple of resources and even videos, walkthrough videos here that can help you. And of course, the Minerva helpline. So this is the service point phone number. Give them a call if you have issues, you can't register, you have a hold, anything like that, you can call them and they can guide you. Here again, we have the link to the advisor directory, so you can know who are the advisors in your faculty and your program. They can also help you determine which classes you need, and many of them will be present at your faculty session for part 2. So starting next week, it's mostly advisors who provide those presentations, so they'll have a lot of great insights for you. Go meet them, go to those presentations, don't forget to sign up. The courses and programs website. So here you can really access a lot of information about registration, program calendar, important academic dates. It's a great website to browse. The accepted students website. Make sure you've done all of the sort of next steps for accepted students. All of them are listed here. And then if you have more questions about the U1 versus U0 status, you can also check out this page on the Next Steps website here, which explains it very well. And lastly, the Advanced Standing and Transfer Credit website. So again, this can really give you a lot of very situation-specific information. Okay, you did an IB diploma or you did AP and you got this score on this course. You can find a lot of very specific information to help you there. Now we'll end on just some more general and new student resources. So again, the I've Been Accepted website, make sure you've been through it, you've done all those steps. Then make sure to go to Get Ready. So Get Ready is the website where our team is really guiding you through your arrival to McGill. So there you can find our webinars, our course registration tools, and lots more. So definitely check out our website as well. You can also find the Campus Life and Engagement website. So Get Ready is dedicated to new incoming students and CLAY is for all students. It can help you find resources for getting involved on campus, finding a mentor, connecting with social activities, and finding resources. You can go to My Future to find an on-campus job. This is a great resource as well. And lastly, the Ask McGill. So Ask McGill is our student team who can answer a lot of your questions, and it's a great resource as well. Lastly, don't forget to do McGill Essentials. So you have a link here. This is our online orientation, a virtual orientation in my courses, covering lots of different topics from course registration to academic life, to finances, to campus life, health and wellness, housing and meals, everything you need to know before you come. It's lots of little quick video modules that can just guide you through all these major preparations. So great thing to check out in my courses. And that's it. So thank you so much for your attention. It's been really great getting to hopefully answer some of your questions today and help prepare you for registration. I'm going to stop the recording of the presentation now, and we'll take a few more questions before we close.